Supergroups: Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Cream, Them Crooked Vultures, The Travelling Wilburys. The list goes on. However, what if I were to tell you that there was a supergroup consisting of 5 of the greatest musicians, potentially of all time? I'm talking John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Mick Jagger, Bob Dylan, and George Harrison. You'd probably think, wow, that's amazing. That's probably too good to be true. Because it is. All the way back in November of 1969, an album self-titled The Masked Marauders was released with the impression that this band was consisting of those 5 members. It was all a giant hoax, so let's go over it.
Television is more popular than Jesus.
Conjured up by Rolling Stone editor Greil Marcus using the pseudonym at the time T.M. Christian, which was inspired by some novel which I could not be bothered studying any further. So upon further research, because I was bothered, basically the book that I'm talking about now is by an author called Terry Southern. It is called The Magic Christian. Apparently it's actually quite telling to the story. Basically, it's about an odd billionaire who spends most of his time playing elaborate jokes on people, kind of like what Mr. Burns did to Lisa in that one episode of The Simpsons, where she needed $500 to get the jazz album for Bleeding Gums Murphy. Obscure reference, I know, but if you know the episode, you'll know exactly what I mean. Wrote a satirical review of a non-existent album crafted and produced by the aforementioned musicians, which T.M. Christian, or Greil Marcus, referred to as a super session. If it actually was those 5 musicians, yes, it would be a super session. He also claimed that none of the members could actually have their names attached to the record due to contractual agreements with their respective recording companies. The review was intended to parody the supergroup trend that sort of came up around the late 60s and early 70s. An unreleased double album by Bob Dylan, the real one, titled Great White Wonder, was an inspiration for the review. At the time, many of the Rolling Stones' avid readers took these reviews seriously, even though they were kind of obviously non-existent. I'll read you a few of my favourite ones now. The LP opens with an 18-minute version of Season of the Witch, lead vocal by Dylan, on which he does a superb imitation of early Donovan. The cut is highlighted by an amazing jam between bass and piano, both played by Paul McCartney. Beautiful. Paul showcases his favourite song, Mammy, and while his performance is virtually indistinguishable from Eddie Fisher's version, it is still very powerful, evocative, and indeed stunning. And they say a white boy can't sing the blues. Here we go, here's my favourite review. It can truly be said that this album is more than a way of life, it is life. That's deep. If that's showing up on a review, then that's an album you gotta listen to. Bars! After the review, there was an abundance of inquiries from fans and retailers alike wanting to get their very own copy of this album. However, these events triggered the second part of this entire hoax, which was actually making the album. And I've given the album a listen. It's actually not bad. Editor Langdon Winner went about finding the band to record the album and ended up recruiting a band called the Cleanliness and Goldiness Skiffle Band, a group from California. They first recorded 3 songs: Cow Pie, I Can't Get No Nookie, and Duke of Earl. After the songs were aired on radio stations around the local San Francisco and LA areas, they began looking for a major label to sign them and basically produce the album. Warner Brothers won the rights because they offered a $15,000 advance, and also they had superior promotional rights compared to other recording companies at the time. And they went about making the self-titled album The Masked Marauders.
P-A-R-T. Why? Because
right on the refrigerator.
In November of 1969, the album was finally released under the newly created Deity LP. It didn't do too badly, to be honest. It sold about 100,000 copies. It peaked at 114 on the Billboard charts. Unfortunately, none of the singles actually charted on the Billboard Hot 100. However, Cow Pie hit 123 at its peak on the Bubbling Under the Hot 100 charts, which I didn't know was a thing until I read the article. Warner Brothers inserted the Rolling Stone review on the album after people had purchased it, Ralph J. Gleason, who was a critic of the San Francisco Chronicle and was also a co-creator of the Rolling Stone magazine, he stated, and again I'm going to have to read this because it's a good way to sum it up actually. It was incredible anyone believed the review and declared the gag a delightful bit of instant mythology, which is a nice way to put it. My favourite part of this historical event was Mr. T.M. Christian, aka Greil Marcus. He wrote this: "In a world of sham, the masked marauders, bless their hearts, are the genuine article." There you go. That was the supergroup that never existed. It was a bit of a shame. If you want, give their album a listen. It's literally just called The Masked Marauders. Personally, my favourite song is I Can't Get No Nookie. It's performed by Mick Jagger. It actually sounds pretty spot on. You can hear the Mick Jaggerisms in the song, even though it's obviously not by Mick Jagger. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know what to do. If you want, say it with me. Stay golden.